Good morning, class. Before we start with the lesson this morning, let us all stand first. We will have a prayer. Let us put ourselves in the presence of the Lord as we pray. God of grace, we open our hearts, minds, and souls to worship to you. Thank you today we dwell in your kingdom and live in your presence. Thank you as we gather together, we join with all Christians across the world to glorify your holy name. Come be with us, inspire us, and lead us in our time together. We ask this in the beautiful name of Jesus. Amen. Please be seated. Good morning once again. Good morning, class. How are you today? I hope you had a good sleep last night. Okay, before we start with our lesson, I would like to let us have first a review of what we have discussed last time. Okay, Imelda, what is a database management system? Yes, very good. It is a computer system providing the interface between the user and the database or databases. What about you, Jose? How the software system is designed for database management system? Yes, very good. It is designed to allow the definition, creation, querying, update, and administration of databases. So that database can be used in front end. It is done in PHP.NET, ISP, or any server-side scripting languages and store data in a back-end database. It is in MySQL, either in MySQL, SQL Server, Oracle, or any other database management system. Okay, this morning, we will learn the relational database management based on a relational model. In my presentation, I will give to you some information pertaining to an entity relationship data model. So in the ER model, all the data will be viewed as entities, attributes, and different relations that can be defined between entities. If we are going to know or to define an entities, it is an object in the real world that is distinguishable from other objects. An example of these entities are employees and places. Whereas the attributes in the ER data model, it is defined as the characteristic of the properties of an entity on the basis of which it is easily distinguishable among entities of the real world. Example of this, taken from the object or an entity employee, you have heard the employee name and you have heard the employee age and gender. Again, in the entity relationship data model, it is associated among two or more entities and we call that as relationship. Or it could be a relation of two-dimensional table of entities within a table, and the attributes will be the columns of that table. When you take a look on the example, the relational is consists of one, in this example, one or more related table. The two tables here are, you call as the primary table. That is the main table in a relationship that is referenced by another table. And the other one here as below is, you call it as a related table or a child table. References a primary table in relational database. These tables is has identified or has a unique field that contains a primary key. Then, the primary key and foreign key, these two primary keys is linked record across a multiple table in a relational database. One important key in a relational model is the primary key. This is a type of index which makes retrievals and sorting faster. So as you can take a look on the table, you have here two family name on the table, family name for this field. But because of the primary key which identifies uniquely the two employee name, they are distinctly different, and because they are distinctly classified by the primary key. Okay. Let us proceed. Any question with regards to the ER relationship model? Okay, if there is none, we will proceed to SQL Server. An SQL Server is a database whose primary function is to store and retrieve data as requested by other software applications, be it those on the same computer or those running or another computer across a network, including an internet. There are standard SQL commands to interact a relational databases, and it can be classified to the following groups of commands. First, you have the DDL or data definition language. The second server command language for SQL is data manipulation language. And the third SQL server command language is the data control language. So there are certain commands in a specific SQL server command language. Along with DDL language, you have the command to create, which is to create a new table. This is used to create a new table, a value of a table, or another objects in the same database. Another command in DDL is alter. So meaning to alter is to modify an existing database object such as table. And the next is drop. A drop command deletes an entire table, a view of a table, or other objects in the database. The next SQL Server command language is data manipulation language. So in data manipulation language, you have 4 commands, meaning to select, to insert, update, and delete. So in these corresponding commands, they have their specific function. To retrieve certain records from one or more tables using a select command, using the insert command, you will be allowed to create a record, and update to modify the record, and on delete your command is to delete a record. The third SQL Server command language is the data control language. The data control language has 2 commands, grant and revoke. When you use grant, you give a privilege to user, and when you use revoke, you take back privileges granted from the user. Okay, we will now proceed to the different SQL Server command languages and what are their uses. First, take a look on the DDL statement, which later on we will be using it when we are going to have our laboratory activity. On the DDL statement, the first command is to create a database. So you can take a look on the syntax on the presentation. First, this syntax is to create a database, and you name an object for the database, and this is an example of it. So you just copy the command and specify the name of the object. And as well as here, to use a database, you have for the syntax to use a database. Okay, and this is an example, and a specific example, replacing an object to a specific name of the object. Okay, so another example in creating a table. So you have here the syntax here, okay, as well as the command and the object, and you have here the attributes. So here is an example, a specific example of it, specifying the data types of each uh, of its attributes. So you have here the command to create a table for persons. You make use of the person ID. Okay, then the data type integer and identity, and the first name for first column and the address for the second column, city for the third column as variable character for data type, and the primary key for the personal ID. Okay, any question? Okay, so for none, let us proceed to DDL R3 table. So you have here to alter command. So an alter modifies an existing database object such as table. First, you alter a table person and add an email for its data type of variable character. Okay. Then you alter a table. Also, you alter a table for person and you drop the column for city. Okay. Then you alter again a table in the object of persons. Then you change first name to full name with the value of data type of variable character. In deleting a table, you have here the command to drop a table. Then you make use of the object name. So meaning that is to delete an entire table, a view of a table or other objects in the database. Okay. Moving forward to data manipulation statements. The data manipulation statement use insert data into a table. So you can take a look on again in the syntax of on the example. You have here an insert into the table and the values, specifying the value of what is the value of the attribute. And you can take a look in here, the example, insert into the customer or customer name, the city or country, and you can immediately put on the values for in each of the column or the value information of the customer. Okay. In data manipulation language, in retrieving information from a table. So you have here also the syntax. So the select statement is used to pull data from a table. So you can see, as you can see here on the syntax, you have to select what to select or from a table where condition to satisfy. So what to select indicates what you want to see. This can be a list of columns or to indicate all columns. And where close is optional. This is an optional condition. If it is present condition to satisfy specify one or more conditions that rows must satisfy to qualify for. Another example or an example of data manipulation language. You can see here on the syntax on the first line, and this is an example of it. So you have to select from the person object. What are you going to select is the ID on the first name from this person object, and select from the person object where city, the value of the city is stated. Okay. This is to update query for data manipulation language. Another command for DML. So you have here the syntax as you can see. So you make use of the command update, set, and some of the and the conditions. Applying to the example, you have here using the command update for the customers, and you set the contact name that equals to the name of the person and the city, specifying the name of the city and where the customer is the name of Alice. Okay. A delete query, you are removing some columns or portion of the table. So you delete from a table, so where some columns or some value, so this is your intention to remove or to delete. So applying it on the example, so you delete from customers, the customer name Alice and contact name Maria. So both are being deleted. Okay. Moving on to DCL statements. On the DCL statements, example, so you have your grant all on alice.user to some user at some host. So all command will set all the privileges to grant Alice as the user in the table. Okay. Then when you revoke all, meaning you are granting all the privileges to the user. Or you are canceling the privileges to the user and replacing it to the other user. Okay. So that's all for our lesson this morning. We will have a self-check before we end with our activity today to check if you have all understand and if there are questions to clarify with regards to our lesson. So let's just have a self-check. So a good answer deserve a good grade. Okay. Question number 1. Attribute of an entity is represented as letter A, row, letter B, column, and letter C, table. So the answer is letter B, column. So very good for those who got it correctly. Next question. In ER model, each entity is represented within relations or table, attributes for letter B, C, schemas, and D, objects. Yes, the answer is letter A, relations or tables. Next question. DDL is used to, letter A, define, manipulate the data, define, manipulate the structure of data, define, manipulate the access privilege. So the answer is letter B. You define, manipulate the structure of data. Example for DML is, next question. Letter A, deleting all table and data, creating a column, changing column of data types. The answer is letter A, deleting all table data. Okay. So I have here an example of, I have an exercise to write a query to create a table below. So you may fill in the missing parts of the commands so that you can arrive at the correct syntax. Yes, this is the correct syntax. For those who got it correctly, then you get the correct answer. Okay, write a query to add one more column name in PIN. So, what is the missing line here for your syntax? Okay, yes, this is the missing part of the syntax. After table, add column and underscore PIN, integer, and semicolon. Okay, that's end our lesson this morning, class. And before you go out, you may take your assignment for the next topic to be discussed next meeting. Thank you so much for taking it. And next topic, take note, working with databases and MySQL. Please have an advanced reading of it so that next meeting you can answer the questions and you can understand the lesson properly. Thank you so much.